So today I want to talk about the ASVAB. And the ASVAB is the test you're going to take before you join any of the branches of the military. They all require it, and it's a test that tests a lot of the things that you would have learned in school. And I thought the ASVAB was pretty easy personally, but it's not easy for everybody. Basically, it's testing things that you learned in high school. I felt like I didn't put a lot of things in the test that I learned in college. It was mainly a high school kind of test. It wasn't really a college test. Don't worry if you're still in high school and you think it's going to be harder than what you're learning now. I mean, I went to high school 10 years ago now, and it didn't test me on anything I learned in college. It was all from high school. Depending if you take it on paper or if you take it on a computer, there's either 9 or 10 sections, and they give you time for each section. So the first 4 sections are basically your ACT or your SAT, like the normal high school kind of questions. You have word knowledge, paragraph comprehension. So those two are how well do you know English words and what they mean, and how well can you read paragraphs and answer questions about them. The third one is going to be arithmetic reasoning, and mathematics knowledge is the fourth one. So those two go hand in hand. They're math. They're both math. One is more like story problems, and one is more like just solving equations. Basic algebra, geometry. Train A leaves Rapid City, Iowa going east at 60 miles an hour. Train B leaves Des Moines, Iowa going west at 40 miles an hour. How much more corn will Train A have passed after 5 hours than Train B? So to study for those 4, it's just going to be brushing up on English and math. And those 4 scores make up your AFQT score, which is what makes you eligible to enter the military. More than, not really your job selection, that one's more of, can you join the military? Are you eligible? Okay guys, I'll put a better picture of this up later, but here is my ASVAB. And there is my AFQT score. And that score they give you is a percentile. And so it's based off of a group that did the test years ago. And the percentile score tells you where you place compared to other people. For example, if you get a 90%, that means your test score is better than 90% of the other test scores. Or in other words, you're in the top 10%. You can't really get 100%. And even if you answer most of the questions wrong, you probably won't get a 0. It's based off of percentages, and it's comparing you to other people, if that makes sense. The other sections are more about your job itself. So the general science test, and like it says, it's just kind of general science questions, things you would have learned. I felt like mostly in physics. The next one is mechanical comprehension. So I felt like that was mainly auto mechanics. How does a motor work? What is this part? What does this do? It was a lot of mechanics. Just how good of a mechanic are you? So the electronics section of the test is going to be more along the lines of the basic science of electricity. It's going to be talking about elements that are conductive. It's going to be talking about how to measure electricity. The next section I found was the strangest section, the assembling objects section. I call this section the IKEA section. Like, have you ever bought furniture from IKEA or from Target, and it doesn't come assembled, and it says some assembly required on the box, and you open up the box and it's just pictures. There's no words, it's just pictures. That's kind of what this test is like. Basically, this section gives you shapes, and it says how would these look if you assembled them, and it gives you rules, and then it gives you different pictures as to which one would be the end product. It's kind of a weird section. I'm not really sure how to study for that one in particular, but just go slow and try to figure it out, because it's just trying to test you to see how good you are at certain jobs, so give it your best shot. I'm going to put some links in the description with some practice tests, just so you can go and practice and see what you have to work on. The next 2 are combined if you're taking it on paper. For me, I took it on the computer, so they were separate. And it's auto information and shop information. And so I know that I mentioned mechanical comprehension was sort of about cars, but auto information is really about cars. It's like, okay, what is this part? What does this do? How do you fix this thing? I would just brush up on car parts and how the car works in general to pass that one. That will only really help you in jobs that require mechanical knowledge. So if you don't really care about that, I wouldn't study that. Again, these last 6 are job selection. So if you don't know what you want to do, I would probably brush up on everything That way your options are open. But if you know you don't want to be a mechanic, then don't bother studying auto. And the last one is shop information. Shop information is more about tools. So it's, what does this do? Which of these is this tool? You know, it's basic shop information. Again, if you don't want to be a mechanic, if you don't want to work with tools, if you want to be an HR specialist for the Army, don't study for these. There are plenty of practice tests out there. All of these sections have practice tests. You can practice the whole ASVAB, but these last 6 are going to be job selection. If you know what you want to do for a job, I would study those parts of the last 6. I would study the mechanic section if you want to be a mechanic. I would study general science if you want to be a medic. You know, if you have a job in mind, study that section. If you don't really know what you have in mind, I would just take a bunch of practice tests, see what you're weak on, and do those. I would just go in nice and calm, do the best that you can, because they have a job for everybody. You know, the military needs people. They want people. And so as long as you went to high school, or as long as you have been paying attention in your studies, you should be fine. And if you do take a practice test and there's something you need to study, then just study that section, you know. If you're at all worried about the ASVAB, I know there are people out there who are worried about the ASVAB, I would just take a practice test. I would just see what you get, what your scores are, what areas you're weak in. I really don't think it is a test that's difficult. Really, guys, don't sweat this test. Go take a practice test. Go see how you do. If there is a section you feel worried about, study it, but just try it. Try a practice test. It's really not that hard of a test. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you have any more questions, feel free to comment below. Make sure you subscribe, because I'm going through the process right now of getting into the military. So I'll be putting up more videos as we go along, and once I get into basic training and my advanced training, I'll put videos up there too. So if you'd like to watch me on my journey through the military, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks.